We ended up at this place. It's not where we meant to go. It was called Rosarita's Deluxe Resort, but I was very glad to be getting there, except that it was closed, and it was really more like Rosarita's Plywood Palace. So we did what any good citizen would do, and we broke in just for the evening. There were little padlocks on these little plywood doors, and we were out of gas. We didn't know what else to do, so we wake up the next morning, and we're in this beautiful bay. It's pink sand and blue water on the Sea of Cortez. It's gorgeous. But this town is completely abandoned. There's like body snatchers have come. You can see the windows, and there's people's belongings, but no people. And it was strange. And we were sitting there on the beach wondering what to do and how to get gas, and in the distance we see these 4 figures in black walking toward us, and they get closer, and I can see the sun glinting off of something shiny, and they get closer, and I can see that they're automatic weapons shoved into their pants, ghetto style. And they got closer, and I saw that their shirts said Federale, which is cop to you. So they get up to us, and we ask the obvious and pertinent question, do you know where we can get a boat to go whale watching? And they said they had a boat and we could go with them. So we were like, great. So we get in this little boat. It's not a fancy boat, it's just a little teeny, like, aluminum skiff with 2 little wooden benches. And so we get in, and I'm like, so what brings you guys down here? And they're like, well, we're here on a drug bust. And I go, come again? They're like, we're here on a drug bust. I'm like, now? They're like, yeah, we've been here 6 months. It's been a sting operation. And I'm like, is it dangerous? He goes, yeah, that's actually why we evacuated the city. And he lifts up his shirt, and he has 2 bullet hole scars that went clean through him front and back. And every boat that passed, they had this little megahorn, and every boat that passed had to announce themselves, and one boat wouldn't. And that boat sped up, and so our boat sped up, and that boat sped up, and our boat sped up. Pretty soon we were on a full-speed chase in Mexican waters on my day off. And I'm a little scared. I start looking for life jackets at that point. And this wooden bench I was sitting on very conveniently doubled as a storage unit for automatic weapons. And they offered me an AK-47. That's okay. And Steve was like... So the boat in front of us gets up and hits the sand, and 4 guys get out and start running, and our guys hit the sand, and they get out and start running, and there's a scuffle, and our guys win. I didn't see it, but I heard it because I was hugging the bottom of the boat, suddenly quite religious. But when I heard the handcuffs click, I felt pretty good, and I popped my little head up, and indeed, they had apprehended the supposed drug smugglers, and they coerced, Cheney style possibly, a confession out of the boat driver, and he told where the drugs were. And we had to hike through the desert, and I didn't want to go look for them. I kind of wanted to stay with the boat. I was in flip-flops. But, and it was dangerous. But Steve really wanted to go because he's Catholic. That pretty much means that he's irresistibly and undeniably drawn to anything wrong. So I didn't want to stay there by myself. So off we go traipsing through the desert, and there's these comical movie-style directions. You have to go over a hill, and you'll see a bush, and by the bush you'll see a rock, and you push the rock aside. And indeed, we pushed this rock aside, and there was a giant hole dug, and there was 1,000 pounds of marijuana. I never knew how they trafficked it. They do it in these bricks and saran wrap bricks, and they put all these bricks in these big like sacks. So there was more drugs than people to carry them, and so they uncuffed the drug smugglers so they could help carry. It was awesome. Steve, very skinny guy, but suddenly so strong, had 2 bags on each shoulder. He looked like a wine bottle balancing a mattress. And I'm like dragging one half-heartedly through the desert. And we get back and we load up the boats, and on the way back to the camp, these federales are super excited. This has been, 6 months sting, and they're like, Joel, you're a good luck charm. There's gonna be a party tonight. Do you wanna come? I bet there is. Just throw it in the fire and everybody stands downwind. The peninsula. Well, I don't want any part of the party because I'm suspicious. I think that half the drugs are going to end up in our car, and I'm going to end up in a Tijuana prison spending the rest of my life protecting Steve's honor. So I say no thank you to the party, and when we get back, Steve, of course, being a good Catholic man, has to help unload the drugs. And they do that. This Suburban pulled up out of nowhere, and they're loading the drugs into it. And this Federale goes to Steve. He goes, you know, you've been so helpful. Would you like some? I'm thinking no. Like a no-brainer no. But you really have to see this from Steve's perspective. You know, to him, it wasn't a Federale with a AK-47 and a large hunting knife offering him contraband with no witnesses in a third world country. It was like the Pope. His little hat. And his staff. And he said unto Steve, Steve, partake. You will be forgiven. Clouds parted, angels sang. With trembling hands, Steve reached toward this bag that the Federale ripped open, and he grabbed a little out. He looked the man in the eyes longer, really, than comfortable. And he goes, and the guy was like, take more. And I'm like, what, you need a certain amount on you to be framed? So Steve just grabs a big handful, and we walk away, and I'm like, you're getting rid of this, and I don't mean smoke it. So he gave it to their cook, who was like the 73-year-old lady that goes, no, okay, but just right. So we ended up getting a picture. This is a true story. We ended up getting a picture of me and Steve and this Suburban full of pot, and I'm holding a AK-47, and Steve has a kilo. I look like I'm 12 years old, and you can see it on, I don't know if it's on JoelJK.com, but it might be on, it's on Steve's MySpace. Steve Poltz, P-O-L-T-Z, yeah, MySpace. You can see this picture. Anyway, the point, you're wondering where I'm going with this story. Where could I possibly be headed toward folk music in this mix? We did write some songs on that trip, and this was one of the songs we wrote, and it ended up on my first album.